Hey guys, Rachele here with Amethyst Ascension, and today we are going to be discussing day 21 of the 78 Days of Tarot, and we are going to be talking about the Judgment card. So I'm going to change this camera around and set up a new scene for you to be able to look at the cards while I read through a few things. We're going to be touching on, just briefly, numerology behind the Judgment card, which would be the number 2, because you continue to break it down. Another thing we're going to be discussing is astrology that is actually associated with the number 2. I'm sorry. Well, yes, astrology that is also related to the number 2, but also astrology that is actually associated with the Judgment card itself. And we're going to be reading out of a couple of books: Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa Sonova and Holistic Tarot by Benabelwin. Okay, so I'm going to turn this camera around and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so we are going to first be talking about the numerology that is associated with the Judgment card, which would be the number 2. The energetic frequency of the number 2. Number 2 in numerology is ruled by the moon, giving it the ultimate in feminine energy. The moon is reflective of the divine feminine, because if it was not for her, we would not have human life here on Earth. It is the planetary body representative of our innermost desires, mental needs, and human emotions. But it also reflects our unconscious, such as our natural instincts, automatic reactions, and subconscious habits. In essence, the number 2 represents duality at its purest form. It is an energy containing the ability to not just feel, but utilize emotions in the physical. In fact, it reflects a balance between all opposing polarities in life: masculine, feminine, physical, spiritual, yin, yang, conscious, unconscious, ego, higher self, emotion, intuition, fear and love, harmony and disharmony, positive and negative, and happiness and sadness. Our existence is both the physical and spiritual. Our existence in both the physical and spiritual realms function alongside and according to the principle of balance. The universe follows unchangeable principles that regulate vibrational energy in all dimensional realms. All energy works through attraction between opposites. Without an opposite, the original simply could not exist. This amazing example is exemplified in the universal law of duality, which proves that we all possess both ends of duality in everything within us. This type of friction is necessary for for any foundational being or situation to exist, because with the dark, you could not fully appreciate the light. So we're just going to skip right ahead because I don't want to make these super, super long. The zodiac also, or the astrological sign that is associated with the number 2 is Taurus. And it is a sign, an earth sign, with fixed quadruplicity, which combines a loyally passionate earth energy with a realistically grounded fixed energy. This is a beautiful mix of masculine and feminine. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Judgment cards, Astrological. Because keep in mind, that was the astrology that was associated with the number 2. So now, this will be the astrology that's actually associated with Judgment, which is Pluto. Pluto might have been written off by scientists, but astrologers and tarot readers never say die. I am reading this out of the Tarot and Astrology by Corinne Kenner. The planet of transformation is a key player in contemporary astrology, and its role in tarot is equally established. Pluto is the planet of death and destruction, ominous sounding words that are softened by their presentation in the Judgment card. Most versions of the card depict people who are in the act of being judged. Because tarot readers read ahead, we know that in the end the students will pass the test. They'll be left standing and free to go on to the next chapter of their lives. Pluto and the Judgment card both teach that endings are merely part of the cycle of resurrection and rebirth, and inevitably lead to a second chance at a new life. In astrology, Pluto symbolizes death, resurrection, forgiveness, and release. It can indicate areas of testing and challenge, power struggles, and resistance. It's a planet of evolution and unavoidable change. In a tarot reading, the Judgment card is often a call for discernment and decision-making. It compels us to release anything that's no longer living up to our needs or expectations, so that we can recycle and reuse that energy in better ways. In ancient myth, Pluto was the god of the underworld. He ruled Hades, where souls would travel after their physical death. Pluto rules Scorpio, the sign of mystery. It also rules the 8th house, where astrologers look for information about sex, death, and inheritance. The Judgment card corresponds to the element of fire. All right. So next we are going to read out of, Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa Sanova. When the sun shines into all the cracks and crevices, it also brings to light a lot of things that we shoved away when no one was looking. Or oops. You look behind you and see the lies, the gaffes, the embarrassments, and the really hard lessons learned. You were weak. You've been mean and cowardly. You have deliberately hurt other people and have really treated yourself like crap. It's hard to look at. It's even harder to take in. At some point, though, you just have to accept that all of these things, or huge screw-ups, all these little or huge screw-ups, have made you the amazing, shiny person that you are today. That's the Judgment card, for the most part. It's about release. The basic card has to do with Judgment Day, when all the sins are wiped clean and we're taken bodily into heaven or something like this. All I know about the rapture is that this bumper sticker, "Come the rapture, can I have your car?" Anyway, the Judgment card is not so much about wiping the slate clean as accepting that your life is full of holes and mistakes and graffiti and scuffs, and all those marks and flaws are what make you beautiful. That bears repeating. All your flaws make you beautiful. This card often comes up when we reach a crossroads. We can continue the way that we have, or we can challenge ourselves and find our authentic path. Our true calling is out there, and although it's easier to remain complacent and accept what has made us comfortable, it doesn't do us a damn bit of good. It doesn't help us grow, and it doesn't help us become more complete people. All of the scars, all the spills, and pieces of broken self that are lying around, those are the strongest parts of us, because they're still here. If we accept those flaws and bring them into ourselves, maybe we can feel lighter and move onward and upward. That's beautiful. It definitely rings true. To me, it does. So, let us read out of the Holistic Tarot by Benna Bellwin. Judgment, which she refers to as Key 20, because it is the 20th card, or the number 20 in the Major Arcana. Key 20 is about spiritual awakening and epiphany. It is about salvation. The seeker's past, no matter how dark, no matter what the seeker has done, is now behind her or him. The card's imagery relates to the Last Judgment of Christian mythos, or the Day of Resurrection per Islamic eschatology, or the theology of humankind's final destiny. In practical application in a reading, Key 20 indicates a change in the seeker's personal consciousness, an important realization that will be a game changer for the seeker. An important life lesson will be learned. Events currently happening in the seeker's life will be the catalyst to a personal awakening. There may also be a literal sense of judgment. All evidence has been made available to the seeker, and the seeker has rendered his or her judgment. It does not end there, however. That judgment that the seeker has made is going to compel an important realization or epiphany in the seeker. Upright, this card indicates that the judgment is correct and will bring an awakening or epiphany in the seeker that is spiritually fulfilling. The people depicted on the card rising from coffins could suggest a resurrection. The seeker may have recently transitioned from the end of one critical phase into a new one, and the experience of that transition and transformation has brought to the seeker a great sense of awakening and understanding. The body of water that the coffins float upon calls to mind the lake of fire referenced in both early Egyptian and Christian mythos. It appears in the book of Revelation. I think they're talking about the lake of fire, Gehenna, or she is talking about Gehenna. Key 20 is often associated with either the element fire or the element water. There are two schools of thought as to elemental dignities for Key 20, Judgment. If the card's ruling celestial body, Pluto, is associated with Vulcan, the god of fire, then the card is governed by the element fire. And if the card's ruling celestial body, Pluto, is associated with the astrological sign Scorpio, then the card is governed by the element water. The author of this book subscribes to associating Key 20, the Judgment card, with water, and thus is interpreting the card, yin energy, would be construed as being dominant. Again, the yin as applied in Key 20 resonates with the yin as applied in Key 1, the Magician, and Key 7, the Chariot. The cards are yin in spite of the greater outer strength and activism displayed in the cards, because at the core, these cards are about divine knowledge and the reception by the conscious of what is contained in the collective unconscious. My goodness. So I wanted to show you some of the different Judgment cards that I have here. This one is the Judgment card from the Universal Weight deck. This one is from the Pre-Raphaelite Tarot. I'll just leave it up there for a second for you to look at. This one is from Journey into the Hidden Realm. Isn't that beautiful? Definitely one of my favorite decks. This is the Shadowscapes. Beautiful. Makes me think of that she's blowing her trumpet. Look at the butterflies. I love it. Yeah. This is from the Mermaid Tarot. She's blowing into a shell. Looks like a shell. Look at all of them rising up out of the bubbles. That's beautiful. This is the Everyday Witch Tarot. Music. Vibration. Karma. Judgment. And this is out of the Psychic Tarot. See if I can make it a little bit smaller. There we go. This is the Angel Tarot. Review and evaluate. A favorable assessment of the facts. Time to move in a new direction. This is from The Gilded Tarot by Ciro Marchetti. Thank you, Diane, for that correct pronunciation. This is the Druid Craft. Look at it, it's like he's emerging out, new, young again. Rebirth. Beautiful. This is the Impressionist Tarot. Definitely an interesting spin. I'll give you that. And this is out of the newest deck that I have, which is the Ancestral Path Tarot. Let me try to, there we go. These are quite large cards. Look at that. Coming to the surface like a window in the water, rising up. At least it feels like water. Look at that. It's almost like that. This makes me think of like different lives, past lives, and or lives that are currently going on. And different perspectives, different parallel universes all going at the same time. Interesting, huh? So, my thoughts on the Judgment card are, first of all, when it comes up, and I have said this all along, it's going to depend on the nature of the question. It's going to depend on the nature of the spread, if you're using a spread, and the surrounding cards, and whether or not you read in reverse or just only upright. But in my opinion, this is about new beginnings and a rebirth, and taking like an end to an old system that did not serve you any longer. But don't worry, things are good. I don't want to say good. Things are as they are supposed to be. You know, that is like the law of, I don't even want to say the law of anything. It's just, I think that, you know, like karma or whatever you put out there, you get back. That's like what the Judgment card is to me. So I hope you have enjoyed this video and this series. If so, give me a like, hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget about the little notification bell if you would like to receive notification of new videos. And I'm wishing you always love and light.